How's it going, everybody? I'm Lewis and we've got a new poll from the old school RuneScape team, so let's go ahead and vote in this poll. This is content poll 45, skilling pets and quality of life. In this they're offering us pets for thieving, agility, runecrafting and farming, as well as a number of quality of life changes. So question 1, should they add mega rare skilling pets for thieving, agility, runecrafting and farming? And I'm going to go ahead and vote yes to that. I don't have any major objections against it, and I like the idea of these rare pets. Question 2. Should easy, medium, hard and elite clues only give caskets when you're about to receive the reward? This is something that I know many players have hoped for, because you want to know if you're going to get the reward or another clue. It can feel a little bit misleading if you get a casket and you think, great, what's my reward? And then you end up getting another clue. So I think I'm going to go ahead and vote yes to that. It will really help make doing clue scrolls a little bit more interesting. Next, question 3. Should the brine sabre be able to deal a killing blow to rock slugs without the use of salt? Because obviously if you have a look at the examining information on the brine sabre, it's something like, this is a salty sword. So that would make sense, and I think it would give some use to the brine sabre. So I'm going to vote yes. The one thing I kind of dislike about this is, it isn't necessarily locked behind Olaf's quest. However, Olaf's quest is an obstacle for certain players to get it. I know, for example, Iron Man would definitely have to do that because they can't buy a brine saber off other players. But I suppose if they agree and they vote yes, then that'll be fine. Question 4. Should it be possible to use numbers on your keyboard to select options from general interfaces? Here's an example of the interfaces they're talking about. So you'd have to press 1 to get to the Gnome Tree Village, 2 for Gnome Stronghold, 3 for the Battlefield of Khazar, and obviously 4 for cancel. Potentially 0, it depends if they design it in a certain way that 0 is always cancel. I think this is quite a good idea. I'm going to go ahead and vote yes, because I think it fits in quite well with the fact we can do that when we chat with NPCs already. Question 5. Should lava dragon kills count towards black dragon slayer tasks? I'm going to go ahead and vote no. I can understand why they're asking this, because they drop black dragon hides. However, I don't see them as black dragons, and the fact that they've not counted towards the slayer task for so long has confirmed that for me. I see them as some kind of corrupted dragon. They used to be red dragons, because obviously we had red dragon isle in the wilderness, but then the lava around them corrupted them and turned them into lava dragons. Question 6. Should it be possible to unlock a red dragon task for the cost of 50 slayer reward points? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I can't see anything wrong with that. In fact, I was completely oblivious to the fact that you couldn't kill them for slayer. Question 7. Should it be possible to build a dummy on which you always hit your maximum hit in your player-owned house? Again, I've got no quarrels with that. It'd be quite nice to see how much you actually can hit, although I'm sure the novelty will wear off incredibly quickly because you'll be able to find out what your max hit is almost immediately. Question 8. Should the Ring of Wealth improve loot received from the rare drop table by removing empty slots? Now, I think this is implying that the rare drop table has a few slots where nothing is actually dropped. And if you're wearing the Ring of Wealth, that will mean that you're guaranteed to get something from the rare drop table. Or maybe not guaranteed, but you're more likely to. And I think that's a fair idea. People want the Ring of Wealth to improve their loot, and doing this sort of thing to allow more people to get rare drops from that table will work. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I'm hoping the Ring of Wealth will be seen as something a little bit more useful in the future. Question 9. Should the Ring of Wealth cause coin drops to go straight into your inventory rather than the floor? Now, I've got some rough memory of them either polling this or something very similar with another ring. I can understand why people would want this sort of thing. However, I don't like this at all. I think if you want to pick up your loot, you should pick it up off the ground. That's where loot goes, and that's where you pick it up. You don't just have magical items that always just give it you straight away. Obviously, we do have magical items into the game, but I dislike having a magical item doing this sort of thing, so I'm going to go ahead and vote no. Question 10. Should the random event mystery box be updated to offer a chance on top of receiving easy to hard clue scrolls, a roll on the rare drop table, or an equipable baguette? These rewards will be in addition to the existing drop table. Now this is interesting. I didn't realise these mystery boxes had a chance of giving you easy to hard clues. Unless I'm misreading this and they actually want to offer that onto the mystery box. Personally, I think this would have been a little bit nicer if they split this into a couple of different questions. The equipable baguette sounds quite funny. However, I'm not too sure about having a role on the rare drop table. So for that reason, I'm going to have to vote no. Question 11. Should an additional teleport location be added to Xeric's talisman once you gain 100% favour in all 5 houses? Now, I really want to say yes, that sounds like a great idea, however, we don't know where this location is. One would presume it's the centre of Kourend, however, I cannot assume that based on this information alone. So I'm going to actually skip this question, and I'm thoroughly disappointed in the lack of information there. Question 12. Should it be possible to break down a Xeric's talisman into 10 lizardman fangs? Now, I don't really have anything against that, so I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. You charge the talisman with the fangs, so I don't see any issue with destroying it to get fangs back. Question 13. Should achievement diaries be automatically started so tasks can be completed without talking to diary masters first? Now, this is an interesting one, because I actually haven't started any of the achievement diaries. You might be questioning that, and it's a bit of a mixture of me being weird and me being lazy. So, me being weird is, I kind of don't want to start it unless I'm going to do it all in one. And I've got absolutely no desire to do that. I understand some of the rewards are great, and I'd love to get them, but like I said, I'm just a little bit too lazy to do it. If they did start it for us, then I wouldn't mind it too much. I'll just be going along my everyday tasks, and every so often I will probably unlock an achievement, which obviously will be nice. However, like I said, I find it strange to think I'll just do 1 or 2 tasks, because I'd want to do them all. I'm a bit of a completionist in that respect. But either way, I don't have any major quarrels with it, so I'm going to vote yes. Question 14. Should metal dragons drop note bars in the Brimhaven dungeon as a reward for completion of the Elite Karamja achievement diary? Now, I quite like this. When you go and kill metal dragons, it's a bit of a pain, because you can see all these bars on the floor, and you think, I'd love to pick them up. They could be worth just a little bit. I mean, it's not like a huge thing, but it will add up after time, and it's always a pain to leave them there. Having it happen in the Brimhaven dungeon only, hopefully, could increase the activity there, because obviously a lot of people are now killing metal dragons in Neve's Cave. Having the Elite Karamja achievement diary as a lock to this content is also quite nice. I would have probably also accepted hard, however I'm perfectly fine with it being elite. I did see some people complaining about the fact it is elite, mostly because it's got so many high requirements. For example, I believe you need 91 runecrafting to do double nature runes, and obviously if you're someone that can do double nature runes, you can make millions an hour. You can really do some of the top money making methods in this game. And so if you're going to do that, why would you even care about getting noted bars from metal dragons? However, as someone that has had 91 runecrafting, admittedly it was in RuneScape 3, but I have had that, I was still weird enough to want to pick up all my drops. So yeah, I quite like that, and I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Question 15. Should damage you deal be a slightly different colour to damage dealt by other players? As in, the hit splat on the character or NPC you're attacking. I think that's quite a nice little update. In group situations, that will really help, although I'm sure it will take just a minute to actually adjust to the change of colour. I remember RuneScape 3 did a very similar update, maybe 3-4 years ago, possibly even back in 2010, because I remember doing it in Dungeoneering. And it would show you when you got your max hit, which was pretty cool. It would show your hits, it would show the type of hits, so melee, range and magic, and I quite like that. It felt completely different to what we've had before, but I thought it was good. Question 16. Burying bones within the catacombs restores your prayer points by a small amount. Currently, all types of bones restore the same amount of prayer points. Should higher tier bones be made to restore more prayer points? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I like that, and in fact I thought that's what the original brief of the Catacombs of Kourend was going to do. They didn't actually mention it, however that's just what I interpreted as. Question 17. Should Skotitso's elite clue drop be increased to 1 in 5? Now currently Skotitso's elite clue drop rate is 1 in 50. So to me, saying 1 in 5 is a hugely dramatic change. And I think the fact that it is so hugely dramatic warrants this poll. If it was something, say, they wanted to make it slightly more common, so they made it 1 in 45, they probably wouldn't poll that. Or they probably wouldn't even bother doing it, because it's such a small difference. Something in my head is saying, no, don't do this update. However, if I think about it, it does make sense. You've got to get into Skititzo's lair, which is a bit of a pain, because it's relying on drops for the Dark Totem. And then you've got a 1 in 5 chance of getting an elite, which I think is perfectly fine. The only bad thing I can think of now is the fact that I believe you always get a hard clue from Skititzo, and if you do get an elite, it stacks with it, so you get an elite and a hard. If they were going to do that, I would quite like them to make it so elite was the only drop gotten from him. Either way, I'm going to have to force myself to say yes, and we'll move on to question 18. Should the colour of aerobes be changed in order to make them easier to tell apart from unpowered orbs? I have confused aerobes and unpowered orbs in the past, and I think the biggest issue is when you're charging aerobes and you end up grabbing a whole inventory of aerobes to go charge, and you realise, hang on, I wanted unpowered orbs. However, when I've done that in the past, it's not been a huge issue. I've generally noticed before I've even gotten down to Edgefield Dungeon, and definitely way before the Wilderness. And whenever they've done these small graphical changes, I've really not liked them. I understand people wanting them to look different, however, I've just not agreed with some of these changes. So I'm going to go ahead and vote no. Question 19. Should Iron Men be able to use Fishing Trawler? In order to ensure they are contributing, an activity check will be added to the minigame to stop players who are not doing anything. I think this is perfectly reasonable. I saw someone on the 2007 Scape Reddit complaining at this, saying they should split this into 2 questions. However, Iron Men should be doing as much activity as possible, because they are solo players. Obviously, this being a group activity, I sort of question it. However, if they want to do it, and people were talking about it since Iron Man came out, then I think it's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Question 20. Should a woodcutting guild teleport be added to the skills necklace? I have no real quarrels with that, so I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Hopefully it would be just outside of the guild instead of inside the guild, because I feel that would be quite powerful, despite the fact that the entire guild is rather overpowered. I mean, I'm currently there right now, because I wanted to make planks faster than going to the sawmill in Varrock, which was quite interesting, getting all the favour to come here. But anyway, back to the questions. Question 21. Should a spell which allows you to spin flax be added to the Lunar Spellbook? The spell would require level 76 magic and would cost 2 nature runes, 1 astral rune and 5 air runes. Each cast will convert 5 flax into bowstrings. This seems like something they've been talking about for such a long time, and I think it fits the Lunar Spellbook quite nicely. Having level 76 magic seems okay, and the rune cost doesn't seem too bad. Obviously, so many bots make bowstrings that I think affecting the price of bowstrings isn't a huge issue. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Question 22. Should deposit boxes be added to the following locations? Piscatorus, Shiloh Village, Port Phasmatis, Zenoris, the Void Knight Outpost, Canifis, Sophenum, Dorgish Khan, Keldagrim, Letia, the Fishing Guild, the Crafting Guild, Bird de Rot, Apatoll, Mostly Harmless, and Blast Furnace. Which is quite a few locations. In fact, it pretty much covers the entire map. And I am thinking, why? Why do we need all these bank deposit box? The majority of these places have banks, so to me, this seems like a completely redundant idea. In fact, I find it a little bit annoying that we have to have them everywhere. And in fact, I'm quite annoyed that they're even asking that. So I'm going to go ahead and vote no. Question 23. Should the number of Scabberites assigned by Slayer Masters be increased? I don't think I've ever been assigned them. Possibly they're locked behind a quest which I haven't done, but I don't really mind. However, I can't really make my mind up, so I'm going to skip this question. Question 24. Should a water source be added in the Gnome Stronghold? Something I was completely unaware. I figured there was a water source somewhere. Potentially there are maybe 1 or 2, and someone's got a specific location they're thinking of. But apart from that, I can't see any downsides to this, so I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. It's fairly easy to teleport between a water source location and then back to the Gnome Stronghold anyway, so I don't think it's a huge issue. Question 25. Should loot broadcast messages occur when killing the giant mole? This is something I thought we already had, mostly because the majority of our bosses have that anyway. But if the giant mole doesn't have it, then I suppose it'd be quite nice to see it. Despite the fact that the giant mole doesn't have the greatest loot. Probably people want it to just display their pets. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Finally, question 26. Some players find it useful to have a full bank so they're able to use the deposit all feature while only depositing some of their items. Should it be possible to add junk to your bank, a placeholder item which cannot be withdrawn, which allows you to fill up your bank without needing large numbers of random items. This is the sort of thing I actually did use in RuneScape 3 when I used to runecraft at the ZMI altar. Mostly because obviously at the ZMI altar you got random runes, and so you didn't want to individually choose each rune to put them in, because you could have up to about 14 different types of runes. So using this was the best way around it. I don't really know many situations in old school RuneScape where this would be required. However, as someone that's had to use this sort of method before, I completely understand. And being able to just add junk sounds like a good way of sorting it out. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I'm going to submit all my votes, and then we can check out the results of this poll. So, at the time that I voted, there are 27,544 votes. 91.3% of those want the new skilling pets for thieving, agility, runecrafting and farming. 92.4% want easy, medium, hard and elite clues to only give caskets when you're about to receive the reward. 87.8% want the brine sabre to be able to deal a killing blow to rock slugs without the use of salt. 91.7% want to be able to use numbers on their keyboard to select options from general interfaces. 63.5% want lava dragon kills to count towards black dragon slayer task. 88.8% want it possible to unlock red dragon tasks for the cost of 50 slayer reward points. 91.1% want it possible to build a dummy in your player-owned house, which allows you to always do your maximum hit. 90.8% want the Ring of Wealth to improve loot received from the rare drop table by removing empty slots. 78.8% want the Ring of Wealth to gather coins straight to your inventory when you get a coin drop. 82.5% want the random event mystery box to be updated to offer a chance on top of receiving easy to hard clue scrolls, a roll on the rare drop table, or an equipable baguette. 92.6% want an additional teleport location to be added to Xeric's talisman once you've gained 100% favour in all 5 houses. 68.5% want to be able to break down Xeric's talisman into 10 lizardman fangs. 84.5% want achievement diaries to automatically be started so you can just complete tasks without having to talk to the diary masters first. 89.8% want metal dragons to drop noted bars in the Brimhaven dungeon if you've completed the Elite Karamja achievement diary. 73.9% want damage you deal to be a slightly different colour to damage dealt by other players. 90.1% want the amount of prayer restored from burying bones in the catacombs of Kurend to be changed depending on what type of bone you've used, making higher tier bones restore more prayer points. 77.8% want the elite clue drop rate to be increased to 1 in 5 from Skutitso. 87.1% want the colour of aerobes to be changed in order to make them easier to tell apart from unpowered orbs. 80.4% want Iron Men to be able to use fishing trawler and to have the activity check to make sure they're actually taking part in the minigame. 95.2% want the Woodcutting Guild teleport to be added to the skills necklace. 85.9% want a spell that allows you to spin flax to be added to the lunar spellbook. 88.5% want deposit boxes to be added to all of those locations we discussed earlier. 48.8% want the number of scarabites assigned by Slayer Masters to be increased. 91.9% want a water source to be added to the Gnome Stronghold. 88.3% want loot broadcast messages to occur when killing the giant mole. And 78% want to be able to add junk to their bank so they can do the deposit all trick with their items. Again, this is another interesting poll. I kind of found it kind of funny as I was scrolling through the results that every so often there was one question that would fail. I think the most recent one was the increasing of the number of scarabites to your Slayer tasks. Clearly people don't want that. It's actually less than 50%, which is incredibly rare for all of our polls. There are a few questions which I can definitely say I'm somewhat annoyed at. However, obviously they're not huge that I'm going to quit from the game. I might find, for example, the new aerobe colour a little bit annoying, but I'm sure I'll get used to it eventually. I know I have with staffs if they're still different, and I think it was maple logs they had to change not too long ago. And obviously I always find it interesting when questions are close to 75%, because obviously, okay, say for example question 16, that's really popular because it's got 90.1% favour. Whereas question 17 has got 77.8% favour. So obviously enough people want it in game, and it's going to probably come, because I doubt it's going to drop below 75% between now and this poll closing. However, it's interesting to see that it's not got an overwhelming pass like you've got with question 16. It's a bit of a shame to see that the damage being dealt changing to a different colour isn't passing. Potentially people just really dislike it, or they might associate it with things like Constitution update in RuneScape 3, which to me wasn't actually a big deal. It felt a bit strange and it took a while to get used to, but it didn't change any of the game. And again, all of these things seem to be passing. People seem quite happy with a lot of the stuff that's offered in these polls. Again, I'm a little bit annoyed at the Ring of Wealth causing coins to go straight into your inventory, but it's not a huge issue. They've been trying to get something like that in game for a very long time. Although I am quite happy with the fact that lava dragons aren't going to be counted as black dragons. That's something that I'm quite pleased with. For some reason, every time I make one of these videos, I get logged off halfway through, so you might see the votes bump up when I get to the top of this. I'm trying to edit it so you don't quite see, but yeah, 27,569, which has increased a little bit. Can't remember what the original number was. However, there's still a lot of people voting in it. However, if you've not voted in this, make sure you go ahead and vote. Every vote matters. This is a community game, and every single update comes into this game voted on by the community. If you don't like something coming into the game and you've not voted, then you don't really have any sort of step to say what's going on, because you didn't vote against it. I love the fact that we do get to vote on our updates, mostly because, especially with RuneScape, I kind of felt a little bit betrayed at some of the updates they added without questioning the community, especially when we have a look at things like the evolution of combat. But anyway, let's save that for a different time. I'm just ranting now. If you want to watch my video on the latest old school RuneScape update, please click here for Broken Armor and the Last Man Standing Open Beta. And if you want to watch my video on the previous old school RuneScape update, please click here for Hidey Holes and mini quests. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and share, and if you want to keep up to date with the old school RuneScape updates, devs, blogs and polls, please subscribe. I've been Lewis, thanks for watching, goodbye.